You might think of the Greens as a friendly, cosy political party obsessed with compost and recycling and spending most of their time on all fours in the allotment. Don't be fooled. This movement, which is largely made up of middle-class do-gooders, is in fact very radical and I would argue dangerous, as it advocates regressive trans ideology, despite the verdict of the Supreme Court in regard to the legal primacy of biological sex. It seeks a vast redistribution of wealth that would have even Karl Marx blushing, and, which perhaps most worryingly, appears to favour an effective open borders policy, as confirmed by this chilling video from the rather posh deputy leader of the party, Rachel Millward. Of course, she's called Rachel, obviously. Take a listen.
Fundamentally, I do not think we should be housing asylum seekers in camps. And people say, well, what should we be doing? And I'm like, well, asylum seekers should have the right to work. And that would mean that people could come and they could integrate into our society. They could bring skills that we need, actually. There are doctors and surgeons and, barbers and all sorts of different people. And they could come and bring those skills and integrate into our society and then pay their way and have that dignity. And that would be better for their well-being and better for our communities. Having hundreds of people on one site who've all been through serious trauma recently is clearly a high-risk situation in various different ways. It would be much better if they were more integrated. So that's not a NIMBY position, is it? That's a please let's welcome people properly position.
Well, there you go. She's absolutely right, isn't she? They're all doctors and surgeons. They're all barbers. And a few Welsh choir boys thrown in for good measure. The ignorance on display here is absolutely shocking. And it's chilling, given the fact that the Green Party are winning power at a local level and could win a significant share of the popular vote at the next general election, given the disillusionment of left-wing voters with Labour. This is truly shocking, and that's why we've got to talk about this. So Rachel's message is a clear one. Refugees are welcome, except they're not very welcome in the leafy East Sussex suburb where Rachel Millward lives. In her shared Green Party role as deputy leader of Shane McGowan tribute act Zach Polanski's leadership, Millward proudly declared that she would hang the flags of all nations to celebrate asylum seekers, but has since objected to 600 of those engineers, surgeons and choir boys being accommodated at a local army camp. Isn't it ironic that Rachel is all for open borders except when it affects her neighbourhood, where she has a house worth a reported £1.6 million, which allegedly boasts a snooker room and swimming pool? Well, maybe posh Rachel could take in a few of these doctors and engineers herself. I'm sure they'd love snooker, and we all know they're strong swimmers. Meanwhile, Rachel Millward's dangerously naive worldview, where all are welcome, fell apart this week when she was confronted by concerned residents who don't share her suicidal empathy, which would see people whose backgrounds we know nothing about and who have entered the country illegally being shown the red carpet. Here is Andrew Wilson pointing out that he's not alone in rejecting this pathological madness.
This town has been reported in the press as being divided. Can we just have a show of hands and some noise in this room to prove that we are not divided about this issue? Just today, there was 3 people in Lewis Crown Court, all of whom were part of your asylum programme, and they brutally raped a woman on Brighton Beach on October the 4th. I do not want that in Crowborough, and I want your assurance that you'll take personal responsibility for anything that happens in this town as a result of what you're doing.
Now, that was the heroic and brave Andrew Wilson, outnumbered by locals with common sense. Finally, this is Kim from Crowborough Shield, a non-political residents group working to challenge and overturn the decision to house 600 asylum seekers at Crowborough camp. Kim confronts our Rachel directly, and it is a thing of beauty.
You did a video the other day, Rachel, saying that all of these people, you know, doctors and engineers and surgeons that are coming here, and we should give them the right to work. Now, firstly, engineers, doctors and surgeons do not come from France on a dinghy and throw their medical certificate overboard.
Brilliant stuff. Sorry, folks. They are far more dangerous and radical than they let on. More communist than compost. You'd have to be green at the next election to vote for the Green Party. Well, I'm delighted to say that those voices you just heard, Kim Bailey and Andrew Wilson, who have gone viral since then, join me exclusively on Talk Breakfast. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Mark.
Good to have you both on the show. Kim, did you expect your comments, your remarks at this meeting to go so viral and make such a splash?
No, I expected our community to be kind of up in arms and in agreement, but I didn't expect it to go the way it did on social media and broader.
And what motivated you to say what you did? What did you think when you watched that video of Rachel Millward saying, you know, that the people entering the country illegally are doctors, engineers and barbers and surgeons and all the rest of it?
I think it's quite shocking, and it just shows a lack of understanding of the small boat crisis and who these people are that are coming. I also feel that it undermines and disrespects the doctors that we do have working here from overseas. You know, they've come here and set up practice, and they're fantastic. It's not the same thing. And like I said to Rachel, these people don't come over on the dinghies from France. They don't throw their medical registrations overboard. And in fact, Afghan medical certificate licenses, they're not licensed to practice here. It's not recognised. So they would have to go through medical training anyway. So it's a point. I don't understand where she's getting her information from.
Well, no, I mean, it's naivety, isn't it, Kim? And it's ignorance. But also I'd argue it's misinformation. It's dishonest. It's a lie, isn't it, to just characterise the people entering the country illegally as doctors and surgeons and engineers?
Yeah, I mean, if we go by the atrocities that we see on the TV, it's not that at all, is it? It's deluded, and I think Rachel really is not fit for purpose. I don't think she represents the people that vote Green. She doesn't represent our residents. I don't think she really knows what she's doing. I think she's sat as a councillor for quite some time, dealing with non-impactful issues.
Yeah.
And now it's come to something where she needs to step up and provide leadership. She's not capable, and I think she needs to do the right thing and step aside and let someone else take lead, same as James, Councillor Partridge.
Well, indeed. Now, Andrew Wilson, you spoke with great authority at that same meeting, and your key message was that actually our society is not divided on this issue and your community is not divided on this issue. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, as soon as the news broke about Crowborough, there were a couple of town meetings called by residents. I went to those meetings, and post those meetings, a national broadcaster, and not yourselves, obviously, it's a 3-letter broadcaster that's currently going through some trouble with Donald Trump,
right.
Published articles telling everyone that Crowborough was divided. And quite frankly, that is absolute nonsense. Crowborough is not divided. We are a very friendly, welcoming town. We have actually got a history of welcoming legitimate refugees into this town. But what we've seen here is a Home Office Whitehall decision driven by a government that has lost control of the asylum crisis, small boat crisis, and they are seeking to put 600 of those people in Crowborough and allow them, to wander around the town. And that is a scary and terrifying thought for every mother, daughter, wife, husband, son in this town.
And Andrew, we have the anecdotes and we have the stories and the absolute horror stories about the things that can happen when undocumented folk roam freely on the streets, and it has happened in East Sussex very egregiously in recent times.
Well, I'm not suggesting that every single one of the people that comes over on the small boats is inherently a criminal, but the fact is we don't know. And the way that the Home Office is proposing to run the Crowborough camp is that they are going to have up to 600 people. I think the number that they're now quoting is 540 people, but on a 3-month cycle. So you're looking at over 2,200 individuals over the 12-month period that they say they're going to use the camp. Now, I don't believe them, by the way. I believe they are intending to use this for a lot longer than 12 months. But that's perhaps just me being cynical about everything this government seems to be doing. And we've seen very, very little in the way of challenge from the local council, of which I am a member, by the way. I'm an independent councillor on Wealdon District Council, and I have been subjected firsthand, as have we all, to a window into what green government might look like. And to say it's not pretty would probably be the understatement of 2025.
Well, indeed, because Kim, actually, you have the same position on this, the use of this army training camp for migrants as the Green Party, and Rachel Millward, she's against using this facility too. But her solution is very different to yours and very different to the wishes of many of the people that live in your area.
Yeah, I mean, Rachel's ideas, I think, are slightly different to mine. I mean, the site itself is not suitable. It's riddled with asbestos. I mean, we've sent you some photos of crumbling asbestos in the ceilings. You got the sewage system, it overflows in the rain. It's not suitable at all to house anybody there. So this is, this isn't just about, Crowborough doesn't want 600 men. I mean, 600 men in one area with very little recreational activities. There's nothing to do in our town. It's schools and churches. That's pretty much it. The whole thing is wholly unsuitable. It's quite, it's just on the edge of the town, but it's also in the forest. So there are strict planning rules around the development, and we have something called the SANGs and the SAMs, which is a monetary contribution when development or planning permission is granted in that kind of area. What they've actually said is any further development, loads of planning applications have actually been rejected based on the fact that the SAMs and the SANGs contributions will not offset the negative impact on the forest. And so all of these applications are being kind of denied because the increase in population is too detrimental to the forest. So I don't understand how they can now say that actually putting 600 people there is okay when you've got I think it's the nightjay, the African nightjay, which obviously nest in the ground. They're a protected species. I believe they're protected internationally, and they will be ruined by their habitat. Things like that. Nothing has been consulted with us at all. There's been no consultations whatsoever. So it's not just about one thing here. This is about the Home Office bypassing every rule, every legislation, just to ram raid through this project that they've got that is going to be so detrimental to so many people, to the wildlife. It's just wholly wrong.
And the issue, Kim, is that the Green Party's solution and Rachel Millward's rather sort of, luxury opinions on this, luxury beliefs, are that what we should do is have clear, legal, safe routes, let people that have entered the country illegally to work and immediately integrate in our society, which is, I'm assuming, reading between the lines, not really a solution in your view, given your remarks to Millward at this meeting.
I do believe that we should be providing safe routes for asylum seekers, and I think you'll find that the majority of the population actually agree with that. I think what she's proposing is not, it's not real. I think it's fantasy land. But yeah, we do definitely need to be helping those. I mean, we've already housed, I think, 250 Afghan families. So it's not that we don't want to support these people. We absolutely need to.
What do you think would happen regarding illegal immigration if the Greens were in power nationally?
I think if we base it off of Rachel Millward, it would be an absolute disaster for everybody.
What would it look like, do you think? And what's your concern?
Well, it's uncontrolled at the moment, isn't it? And the atrocities that you're seeing across the TV, that's going to increase. We have to know who these people are. We don't know anything about these people that come over because they do throw away their papers. We have no idea. We need to know who these peoples are because some of them are dangerous. We've seen that on the news.
Most definitely. And the public, Andrew, are angry and they're scared.
I think they're angry at being ignored. They're angry at, as Kim's just said, not being consulted. Government, one of the first roles of government at every level is to keep the population